the best worst game we have ever seen. The Colts on the road taking on the Denver Broncos. Colts getting their second win, winning 12-9. Matt Ryan 26-41, 251, 2 interceptions. Russell Wilson 21 of 39, 274, and 2 interceptions. A ground game week for both teams. Deion Jackson leading with 62 yards on the Colts. For the Broncos, Melvin Gordon 54 yards. Alec Pierce had his best game as a pro so far. 8 catches, 81 yards. On the other side, Cortland Sutton leading the way. 5 catches for 74 yards. Where do we even start with what we witnessed yesterday? That was horrible in every way. We had interceptions. We had the Colts having more punt yards than they had offensive yards. We had pass interferences on the refs. Like, what did we not see yesterday? What else could have happened?
We even had a blocked field goal.
Blocked field goal, only field goals, not a single touchdown scored. 4 interceptions between the two quarterbacks.
Russ not running the ball on 4th and 1 with the game on the line. Come on.
The game goes to overtime. The entire stadium leaves because they've seen enough. That it was. I'm speechless. I'm still speechless.
Let's begin with this. So, total yards for the Colts put them at 285 yards total, 251 in the air, and 35 on the ground. And you know what? They had it was more than that.
Colts had 106 on the ground. And
so they had 106 on the ground. So and they had 310 punting yards.
Yeah.
They punted 7 times for 310 yards. My boy Matt Hawk putting in the work.
I assume yours is taking consideration sack yards because ESPN doesn't. So with that, the punting was more than what we actually saw from the offense.
That is insane. And then on the Broncos side, they punted. Let's see, they punted 5 times for 229 yards. And, neither of these punters really did that well considering you have no atmosphere. And you have Matt Hawk averaging 44.3 yards per punt, and Waitman, who I have no idea who that is, averaging 45.8 yards per punt.
Yeah, they weren't pinning them in the 5 and had these long drives. Most of the time you saw them taking the ball at the 20 to 25-yard line. So it was very standard in that essence. But everything, every single thing else, we almost saw a Melvin Gordon fumble. Almost. He was on the ground. That would have been the one normal thing of the day, Melvin Gordon fumbling, because he's fumbled every single game this year. Just not one player looked good outside of the 2 kickers. Now, Brandon McManus missed one, had it blocked. Can't really argue
I wasn't really blaming him for that because, if you watch that, I guess you could call it the field goal unit, did not block for anything. They actually almost blocked the when they went and tied the game. Was it when they tied? I can't even remember. This game was so bad.
When they took the lead.
When they took the lead, they almost blocked that field goal again. Because once again, they got no push from the field goal unit. I'm not sure if I want to call them an offensive line because that was
the Swiss cheese.
It's Swiss cheese.
The Broncos offensive line has been. The Colts offensive line was looking slightly better because obviously you have one of the best offensive linemen in the league.
Their left side looked pretty good, but the right side. What does that right tackle do? I don't know his name, but what was he doing? He was standing so tall, and then every single time Bradley Chubb came at him, he put his hand in his face and just went like this. You guys can't see me unless you're watching on YouTube, but he's literally just doing this. He's not pushing down, not actually moving his feet. His footwork was non-existent, and I just watched him on back-to-back plays, just like he let Matt Ryan. And when you're Matt Ryan, you either at that point you have to get the ball out quick or you have to be mobile. He's not doing either.
And he was not being careful with the ball at all. Like I've already mentioned his interceptions.
Both him and Russell Wilson were throwing off their back foot half the game, just throwing it in the air.
Matt Ryan put the ball on the ground 2 times. As a whole, the Colts fumbled the ball 4 times. Somehow managed to get all 4 fumbles back. Broncos on the other side fumbled the ball twice, lost it both times. So the Broncos had 4 total turnovers. The Colts could have had 6. There's a possibility we could have seen 10 total turnovers by both teams. The quarterback play, horrifying. QBR for Matt Ryan, 20.2. QBR for Russell Wilson, 15.9. I'm not a mathematician. That's 36 combined QBR between the 2 quarterbacks. The 2 quarterbacks didn't get more than a 40 QBR combined. I was sitting on the couch at my dad's watching the first half, and I mean I can even imagine the screen time I had on my phone because we were just texting the entire time like what are we watching? Every other play was what was that? What are they doing? Why did they make that play call? Every single play in the first half was boring. I know you didn't really catch much of the first half. The first half was horrible. It really didn't start to get entertaining until the fourth quarter because it didn't really sit and simmer upon us how bad things were. We were on Warzone last night, and I was talking about how that was the most in the moment I have been watching a football game in the longest time. It was art. It was beautiful for, again, all the wrong reasons. It was terrible. There was turnovers. There was bad play call. Richard Sherman saying, you're 4th and 1, run the ball. Like, you have Melvin Gordon, who fumbled the ball a few times, but 4th and 1, run the ball. And then Russell Wilson misses a wide open receiver in the back of the end zone. I forgot I had a lot of fantasy implications for this game. Every now and then, I'd get a notification saying Russell Wilson's in the red zone. Courtland Sutton's in the red zone. I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that because I was just so in the moment, mesmerized by how terrible that game was last night.
Yeah, Russell Wilson was like, what are you doing? And it's like at some point we were also talking about, is it really all Nathaniel Hackett's fault? You're supposed to be an elite quarterback. You're breaking the huddle at consistently under 10 seconds. You're not getting a look at the defense. And even when you are, what are you doing staring down a receiver like you're a rookie quarterback? And on Stephon Gilmore, no less. And I actually forgot Gilmore was on the Colts before this game.
I did too.
And he showed up and showed out. And
both defenses played. I mean, it wasn't a defensive masterclass like a 12-9 game would indicate. It was very poor offenses, but still, both defenses played pretty well. I will say that was the one strong suit was the other side of the ball for both teams. They both played well.
Yeah, so that is one thing. I mean, of course, you have the refs playing pass interference on.
Well, and the Colts weren't even doing anything spectacular on the defensive side of things. They just consistently rushed 3 or 4 and just sat back and said, Russell Wilson, what are you going to do? And everybody knows how big of a Russell Wilson supporter I have been. I have said numerous times, I'll be like, hey, Tua, get in the car. We're going to Seattle. Russ, get Ciara, get the kids, we're going to Miami. And I said that, I mean, countless times on this show with you, with Ryan sitting in that chair. At one point, I actually agreed with you.
And you know how big of a Tua supporter I am and blah, blah, blah. But even I was like, at that point, I was like, well, Russ, I'd take Russ. And now it's like, yeah.
Tua is better than Russell Wilson today.
And he's not even playing.
And but I'm just saying in general, Tua has been the most efficient quarterback in the league. He's had the best QBR in the league. He's played very well getting the Dolphins to 3-0 at the time of him, deciding to go to sleep. Tua's been played very well. I have defended Russell Wilson to no ends on this show and to everybody who has ears because I love Russell Wilson. I have called him the best quarterback in the league. I have said some absolutely now outlandish things about Russell Wilson because that's how much I valued it. I have slandered Pete Carroll into the ground. I slandered him basically hoping into retirement because I thought it was all on Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is 2-2 over with the Seattle Seahawks. They're playing very well. Geno Smith's playing very well. Had him balled out last week, albeit against the worst defense in the league with the Lions. Geno Smith's balling. Seattle's 2-2. That entire division is tied for first place. All of them at 2-2. It is so fascinating to watch. Now you look at Russell Wilson with a good receiving core. It's not like it was a drop off between DK and Lockett going over to Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
Absolutely not.
Better run game, obviously, without Javonte Williams now is going to affect things a lot. But you go from what he had over there to now he has Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, and then the defense on the other side.
Mike Boone looked really good.
Part of what makes it so great is how much talent was on that field last night that didn't perform well. It's not like next week with the Bears and the Commanders where if this is the scoreline of the game next week, it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, these are
two respected teams with a lot of talent on the field.
These are two teams that you projected to make the playoffs, actually win their divisions.
Yeah. I said worse stuff than that.
So this is actually the first time in NFL history that two quarterbacks with 4 more Pro Bowls each have not scored a touchdown in a game.
I said the
That
Broncos were.
is
I sat in this chair in mid-July and I said the Broncos were going to win the Super Bowl. Win the Super Bowl. Not make the Super Bowl, not make playoffs. Win the Super Bowl. Mainen, I'm sorry for down like Mainen, you better thank Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett because Brandon Staley has completely gone off the hot seat now. Because Brandon Staley looks like a schematic genius compared to Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh my
Brandon
God.
Staley looks like coach of the year next to him. We're talking the group chat last night. It's like which of the 3 AFC West coaches gets fired first for to get Sean Payton, and it's really up in the air between all 3 of them. But Nathaniel Hackett is really doing his best job to try to be the worst coach in the league right now.
I actually saw this thing. It was on TikTok, and it was like, so the reason that Hackett and Russ can't really motivate that locker room is because they're both really corny. They're both really corny dudes.
Nobody believes them.
No, like Russell Wilson's not the kind of guy that's gonna get in your face and he's just like, let's go, guys, let's go, yeah.
It's like you're trying to hype up your pee-wee soccer team.
Exactly. He's not the one. He's not Brady who's gonna get in your face, throw up.
He's not yelling and screaming.
Yeah,
he's not showing true emotion.
And if you don't have that in a starting QB, you need to have that in a coach.
Yeah, because like Tannehill and Vrabel. Tannehill's not that. Vrabel is a guy who's respected by everybody.
100%, exactly. And even like we're seeing a little bit of that even in Miami with Tua stepping up and being that vocal guy that even if it's not him, Tyreek is him.
Yeah, and while Mike McDaniel was like nerdy, he's honest.
Yeah,
and people but he is a dweeb. If he gets in a fight with anybody in that locker room, he loses. He probably lose the fights to the equipment manager. Like if you're in a fight and you see McDaniel's backing you up, throw in the towel. You already lost, but people believe him. They believe what he say because he is true to himself. He's not corny. He's not annoying. He is true to himself. Even Tua. Yeah. Tua's been corny a couple of times. Like there's been a few times I've seen him like, okay, shut up, you're little. Like, like it's like I'm sorry, like I don't believe you. But even with Tua, for the most part, he's honest. He's a chill, laid back dude. He's not a rah guy. He doesn't try to be. He tries to be Tua. McDaniel tries to be McDaniel. Russell Wilson tries to be a comedian sometimes. Russell Wilson, I mean, we saw those commercials. We saw the Subway commercial. We saw the like the Uber Eats commercial where he's building the stadium.
We saw the end of his press conference last night. Why are you doing that? Broncos country, at the end of your press conference after you lose a horrible game like that at home, your fans left before the overtime even started. Why are you doing that? You're literally just doing that at that point to just try to be funny. Like, no, that's not the attitude you have to have. Like, even that literally negates the rest of your press conference where you're like, it's on me. I need to do better. That negates
that is all everybody remembers. That is all anybody remembers is let's ride at the end.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't even see the other part of the press conference until like maybe an hour and a half ago.
Why is he even still in his uniform?
Why does he have pads on?
Yeah, well, why is he still? Yeah, it's just okay. Let's focus on Russell Wilson now specifically because again, I've been the biggest Russell Wilson supporter. It's so hard right now too, and Colin Cowherd I think put it very well when he came out on the Volume podcast last night. He's like everyone who's doubting Russell Wilson, like right now you're winning, and maybe he turns around, but like and something he referenced was Arians and Brady. They didn't work at first. The Buccaneers were flirting around 500. It wasn't working. But Russell isn't Brady. That mindset you're talking about Brady where he's yelling, he's throwing things. That's who he is. He's angry because he's losing. And people can buy into that. He's also Tom freaking Brady. Like,
yeah,
he's done
what he's literally done. The greatest for a reason.
Yeah. Russell Wilson isn't that. He's undersized. Pete Carroll mostly used him as an option type quarterback. We've barely even seen him run yesterday, 22 yards, most of that on one play with the 18-yard carry. He's not a pocket quarterback. He wants to be a pocket quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett is trying to let him be a pocket quarterback. He's not a pocket quarterback. He uses his feet, he uses athleticism, and he uses his cannon of an arm. And now defenses are just playing back. The Colts playing as a soft zone for the majority of the game yesterday, and there was nothing there.
He literally could have ran for that first down. He could have. If he rolled out to his left or even his right, he could have ran for the first down and got to first and goal.
Yeah.
It was 4th and 1, and everybody was playing. They rushed 3 people, and why? He had no one even near him within like 2 or 3 yards, and he's throwing off his back foot in double coverage.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm still
Why?
saying, hey, Melvin, here you go. To me, that's what I'm doing.
Not-
If anything, maybe an
Not
option
so
play,
the one
an
smart thing,
RPO, like maybe,
the one
but
smart thing that Hackett did was at the end of that fourth quarter, he benched Melvin Gordon. He's like, no, you have fumbling issues. I'm putting in the rookie Mike Boone. And he ran all over the Colts defense for until they got in the red zone, and then guess what? Russ threw a pick. Like,
I also one thing I'd like to critique. I think both Russ and Hackett. I'm not sure where this more lies. So you decide to go for on fourth down, right?
mm-hmm.
That should be that's kind of a surprise if you're the Colts. Like, okay, you don't get this, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up to the line of scrimmage, and you start barking. You start calling out plays. If you're gonna go for it on fourth down like that, let it be a surprise. Run up, quick play, punch them in the mouth. They don't get to
QB
observe.
sneak.
Russ is kind of undersized, so if that's Josh Allen, if that's Josh Allen, if that's Tom Brady, 100%. Russ, I'm still saying run to the line, hand the ball off because defensive line isn't set. Those big boys, they're trying to get down on their stance. They don't get off as quick. You run to the line, quick, make a play call. What happens? They walk up to the line. Russ is like, check blue, right, and I'm like, okay, what is he doing? Then the Colts call timeout. Like, okay, you just wasted that. Then they come back, call another. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse to watch because not only is it been terrible, the ending is now drawn out by 2 timeouts at the end of the game. Russell Wilson is, and they're stuck with him for 7 years. They're stuck with him in that contract for 7 years. And that is something I never thought I'd be saying about Russell Wilson. They're stuck with Russell Wilson. They have to keep Russell Wilson on this team. There's no team there is no team. I'm sorry, I'm very animated right now. There's no team today that is going to trade for Russell Wilson. I don't care who you are, because that contract is ridiculous. You're seeing what he's doing outside of what he's done with Pete Carroll. This is who Russell Wilson is today. He hasn't been the most accurate. There's a lot of balls thrown behind wide receivers, overthrown. He overthrew Cortland Sutton. There was easy first down yesterday. Overthrows him wide over to Sutton.
Judy for a wide open touchdown. And once again, he had plenty of time in the pocket and threw off his back foot for no reason. No reason at all.
I don't know how I can defend him anymore. I truly do not know how I can defend him anymore.
Why? I don't understand. If you want to throw on the run, roll out. Tell Hackett, because Hackett goes from calling plays for a pocket quarterback like Aaron Rodgers to calling plays for Russell Wilson, who's a rollout quarterback. They're 2 different quarterbacks. You have one with a gunslinger of an arm, and then you have one that he has a decent arm.
No, Russ has a very good arm. They both have cannons. They both have cannons.
He has a decent arm, but he needs to use it correctly. He needs to, roll out. We saw a lot of rollouts in Seattle.
Yeah.
Even, I'm going to compare it to Tua. Last year, Tua didn't do a whole lot of rolling out. He's done a lot of rollouts this year, and he's had a lot of success with it.
I'll take another comparison that you're gonna like. Ryan Tannehill, what Tennessee, a lot of play action rollouts have got, especially when they had AJ Brown, which there's a whole other argument for why they traded him in the first place. But when Tannehill, the play action rollout Tannehill to AJ Brown was legit because you have Derrick Henry, who's the best running back in the league, and then you have Tannehill, who we're not going to get in this argument, but I don't like him. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. But guess what?
He's good enough.
When you have Derrick Henry, who's going to suck in so much of the attention, roll out right, and then you have AJ Brown, you have Julio Jones. You have now with the Broncos, you had Javonte Williams, and that would obviously add so much to this offense if you did play action, roll out, Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. That is tasty. And then you have a defense on the other side who's been top 5 up to this point that if you just give them a little bit of a lead, they'll probably keep it. And you saw yesterday, Colts couldn't move the ball. Colts had about the same. They had roughly the same yards per play. All the offensive metrics are very similar. If you get just one touchdown, that was the game. And they had multiple opportunities in the red zone. This is the worst red zone team in the league. That's not just quarterback. That's not just coach.
Have they scored in the red zone?
Going on.
I haven't seen them. Every time I've watched, I haven't seen them.
They got one Melvin Gordon rushing touchdown.
Okay, so the one time he didn't fumble
when Jay was screaming last week about it.
So that was literally their only red zone touchdown so far. All their other touchdowns have come on big plays, and they had a chance for a couple of different big plays. Once again, he missed Jerry Jeudy for that wide open touchdown. He missed Sutton for a possible touchdown if he was able to break one tackle. And it's just like, ugh. Like, how are you so bad in the red zone? I still remember the first game of the year where they literally went Melvin Gordon fumbled at the 1 yard line. They went Javonte Williams fumbled at the 1 yard line. They went to their third stringer. It wasn't even Boone. It was some white dude.
That was bad.
and he fumbled at the goal line. And then they had Russ throw it, and they ended up going to fourth down and kicking a field goal on the 1 yard line. Like,
it is so much more. Like I was just saying, if this was the Bears and the Commies next week, we wouldn't be getting on here pounding the table. It's like, okay, Justin Fields, how good is he? The Commanders, how good are they? It makes sense. All right. Justin Fields has nothing around him. New head coaching staff, terrible offense. The Commanders, Carson Wentz. I mean, what are you going to get from him every given week? Terrible offensive line. It makes sense. You have a Super Bowl winning quarterback with Russell Wilson. You have Matt Ryan, who's gone to the Super Bowl, has had a couple number one seeds with the Falcons. You have experienced head coach with Frank Reich. You have this blessed offense on paper for the Denver Broncos. Everything makes sense for this. Like, you look at this beginning of the season, like, it's probably going to be a good game. That was the worst game I've ever seen. You can consider the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl. You can argue one way or another. At least it was the Super Bowl. At least you're like, okay, that's the Super Bowl.
But that wasn't even a bad game, because it was like,
it was a defensive masterclass.
It was a defensive masterclass, exactly.
Yes.
It wasn't like this game where it's just blatantly bad offense. Even I would say this is even worse than when the Dolphins got beat 3-0 back in 2007 by the Steelers. That's the game that Ricky Williams got stepped on his back. And even that game, which had weather issues, muddy field, that was more of a defensive masterclass than this game.
And we could talk all day about this game, and I mean, you guys can see, like, it infuriated me. It infuriated me as a Russell Wilson and Cortland Sutton fantasy owner who I started Russ in 2 leagues. Sutton 13 points. I can live with that. I can live with that in the public or in our cream team league. We just made a trade actually right before this episode started.
Yeah.
Lazard for Tua. I'm just gonna have to be patient a little bit on Tua, and we'll see what happens. But as a Sutton and Russ fantasy owner, that game infuriates me because Russ finishes with 9 fantasy points. If he doesn't turn the ball over 3 times, he actually finishes with 15. I'm a little bit more happy, but whatever. We could sit here and talk all day, but the Broncos go to 2-3 on the season, falling to the Indianapolis Colts, who are now 2-1. And moving on next week, we'll have the Commies and Bears to look forward to.
Yay. And the thing is that, what was it? Their 2 wins are against the Broncos and Chiefs. Like, who would have thought?
That is, yeah. Wow. That's a story in itself. But yeah, absolutely the best, worst game, or just call it, let's be honest, the single worst game I've ever seen in my entire life.